What is up, gamers? I'm Joaneh, and this is Archaeology 201. Now, if you have seen the complete guide for level 70, then you've already seen this video. The complete guide came out to be over 1 hour long, so all I did was take each individual section and split it off into their own videos. This one is all about collections and training tips for level 70. If you want a video that's a one-stop shop for all the content you can unlock by level 70, then see the link in the description below for the complete guide. Or if you're interested in some of the other unlockable content for level 70, you can find the links to their respective videos in the description below. I've also included the corresponding links to the RuneScape wiki, as you may find some useful information there as well, especially when you pair it with this video. One last thing I'd like to say, just as a thank you to everyone who subscribed to my channel from my last video. As you know, I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and it's a huge help to me when you guys subscribe. It leads me to getting monetized by YouTube and ultimately gets me the funding I need to produce more videos in a timely fashion. So please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about are the collections. So this board shows you all the different NPCs across RuneScape who are in search for the different artifacts that you are going to be excavating. Now, if you've been following along with my guides, that means you're about level 40 right now, and you haven't contributed to any collections besides the first one that Volusia offers. If that's the case, that means you have about 8 excavation sites that you have to revisit to collect all of the necessary artifacts to start contributing to all the different collections. This is of course going to be the first excavation site, and essentially what you need to do is once you survey and discover which artifacts are available here, you will need to start by excavating one of each. Once you have, you inspect it and figure out how many collections this artifact belongs to. You will need to excavate that many artifacts. So this particular artifact has 2 collections, so I'm going to be sure to excavate until I have at least 2 of the Venator dagger. And do the same for the other artifacts involved, and dig up that many as well. Just follow that rule whenever you dig at a new excavation site, and eventually you'll be able to contribute all of the artifacts collected. Now I'm going to take this time to backtrack with you to the 8 previous excavation sites in case you haven't contributed to any relevant collections yet. If you have been keeping up with all of your collections, you can skip ahead to the next part, which you will find in the description below, labeled After Collections. So this is your first site from level 5 to 12. You have 2 artifacts here, needing 2 of each. From level 12 to 17, you're going to be at the Legionary Remains. There are 3 artifacts here. You will need 2 of each. From level 17 to 20, you have the Castra Debris. There are 2 artifacts here. You will need 2 of each. From level 20 to 24, you will be at the Lodge Bar Storage. There are 2 artifacts here. You will need 3 of each. From 24 to 25, you are at the Lodge Art Storage. There are 2 artifacts here. You will need 3 Disorder Paintings and 7 Crests of the Dragon. 4 of them are to satisfy your collections, and 3 will be to put on top of the fireplace. From level 25 to 29, you will be at the Administratium Debris. There are 2 artifacts here. You will need 4 Maximus figurines and 3 Umbra paintings. At this point, you should have the fireplace unlocked. You can climb down. And from level 29 to 36, you will be at the Cultist Footlocker. There are 3 different artifacts here. You will require 3 of each. From level 36 to 42, you will be at the Sacrificial Altar. There are 2 artifacts here. You will require 2 Order of Disrobes and 3 Ritual Daggers. Now, once you've excavated, restored, and contributed those artifacts, you should be all caught up with your collections at level 40. From here on out, As I take you to the different excavation sites, I will not be listing out the number of artifacts or how many of them you will need. It's going to be your responsibility that as soon as you dig up a damaged artifact, you inspect it, figure out how many collections it belongs to, and you stay at that excavation site until you have enough to satisfy all of the collections. Doing it this way will guarantee that you won't miss anything when you go ahead and contribute to all of your collections. I will also be leaving a link in the description to the RuneScape wiki page on excavation hotspots. This page will show you all the different excavation sites, the levels you need to dig there, and the different artifacts and materials that you can gather from them. This page would be a good reference guide for you in case you've missed an artifact that you need to backtrack on, or it can help you plan ahead to figure out how many of each artifact you need from each site. Now, as you contribute all of your artifacts to all those different kinds of collections, you'll be earning some chronotes. I strongly recommend you take those chronotes and you focus on the assistant upgrades. Here you can upgrade your soil box to be able to carry 100 of each soil. You can also unlock more space in your material storage box and upgrade your Maddock Precision. These should be very easy for you to collect as they are very inexpensive in comparison to the higher ranks. Also remember to take your chronotes and use them towards research expeditions. Stick to the 1 hour or 2 hour expeditions as not to waste all of your chronotes before purchasing all of the upgrades. I would prioritize getting the upgrades first as those will help you in your training. Okay, now I'm going to go over the excavation sites you will be digging at as per your level. Assuming you are level 40, you will be staying at the sacrificial altar until level 42. At level 42, you will unlock Everlight. From level 42 to 45, you will be at the Prodromoi remains, the location of which is right here. You can also find some Prodromoi remains in this location, which is right about here. From level 45 to 47, you will be at the Dis Dungeon Debris, which is located back at the second level of the Infernal source. At level 47, you will be back in Caradet. At this time, you will need to have the prison door unlocked. I will be going over how to unlock this door in the Mysteries section. From level 47 to 48, you are going to be excavating at the Presidio remains. Make sure while you're excavating here, you obtain an extra Legatus pendant. This pendant, once restored, will allow you to access past this barrier as long as the pendant is in your inventory or in your worn equipment. So although this necklace belongs to 3 collections, make sure to excavate at least 4 of them. At level 48, we will be back in Everlight, and we will be excavating at the Monocreos remains, which are located here, until level 51. At level 51, you move to the Amphitheater debris, which is located in this area, and you will be excavating here until about level 56. At level 56, we don't move too far along, and we come just about here for the Ceramic Studio debris. We stay here till about level 58. At level 58, we will be back in the second level of Caradet. At this point, you will need to have your fully restored Legatus pendant in your inventory to be able to pass the barrier. And you will be staying at this spot until about level 61. While you excavate at this location, you will uncover the Pontifex Signet Ring. This ring, similar to the pendant, needs to be restored and kept in your inventory in order to access this barrier located on the first level. From level 61 to 65, you will be back at Everlight in this location just outside the Dominion Games Stadium, excavating the Stadio debris. From level 65 to 68, you will be back at the Infernal source on the third level in the Vestibule of Futility, and you will be excavating at the Infernal Art. If you still haven't unlocked the Vestibule of Infutility, do not worry. I will be going over how to unlock this area in the Mysteries section. Just some things to note. Chaos Portals allow you to jump from one island to the other as long as it's on the same level. Dragon Portals allow you to jump from one level to the other. While entering this area for the first time, you may find that the Chaos Portals will misfire a lot, meaning it will send you to another portal that's nearby. As you walk around the Infernal Source, you will see little Imps that have the Infernal summoning symbol underneath them. They will give you a puzzle box that you need to solve, and once you do, they will give you some kind of Dungeons and Dragons dice. Those dice, when you roll them, reduce the failure rate of the portals as you jump across them. The Imps around the Vestibule of Futility will look kind of like this guy. All you have to do is talk to him, there'll be some dialogue, and he will ask you to solve his binding spell. Say yes, and he will give you the puzzle box. If you already know how to complete these puzzle boxes, please use the timestamps in the description below, or simply skip ahead to carry on with the training. If you would like to learn how to do this, I will give you a quick rundown. Use the hint to discover the original picture, and simply go row by row for the first 3 rows. I will fast forward this just to show you what this looks like. Once you get to the final 2 pieces of the row, make sure you line them up on the side and feed them in, like so. I hope that part made sense. See, all I did was I lined them up in the order that they would be fed in. So this is the second last piece, so it comes first. This is the final piece, so it comes last. And then I simply start to feed it in. Now I'm going to fast forward and do the same for the next 2 rows. Once you get to the last 2 rows, you want to solve them column by column, using a similar method to the one I used when I completed each of the first 3 rows. Meaning I will be taking the second last piece, as well as the last piece, and feeding them in, completing the first column. Now I'm going to do the same to the next 2 columns, making the last 2 columns self-explanatory. And finally, we lock this in, and the puzzle is complete. These puzzles are also very similar to the ones you will see in treasure trails, so I hope this kind of showed you how you're supposed to do them. Talk to the imp one more time, and similarly to the first 3 you would have collected, this reduces the chance of failure to the chaos portals even further, although they may seem irrelevant if you already have the chaos star in your tool belt. Now this imp does appear 7 different times throughout the Vestibule of Futility, so I will be leaving a link to the RuneScape wiki page regarding this imp in the description below. You can use that page to see all the locations that the imp will be at in order to solve all of his puzzles. Like I said, there are 7 imps, so I highly recommend taking breaks in between them, because doing 7 puzzle boxes in a row can be mind-numbing. But I will leave that up to you guys. Okay, moving on. At level 68, you'll be excavating at the Shakroth remains until about level 69. While excavating here, you will come across a Chaos Star. Make sure to excavate one extra Chaos Star aside from its corresponding collections, as you will need to restore this and equip it onto your tool belt. Once equipped, this Chaos Star will allow you to reach the lowest level of the Infernal Source, and will now prevent the misfiring of the Chaos Portals as you travel across them. The Chaos Star is needed to solve the final mystery of the Infernal Source, Dagon Bai. From level 69 to 70, you will be back at Everlight, precisely in this location, excavating through the Dominion Games podium. Now, once you've gone through the list of excavation hotspots, collected all of your artifacts, and once you restore them, you should actually exceed level 70, now granting you access to the Stormguard Citadel. However, there's going to be a few things that we should do before we get to the Stormguard Citadel. For instance, you should at least achieve the Associate qualification before heading down there. I tend to find that once you reach level 70, the only things you're going to be missing will be the Discoverer, the Restorer, and possibly the Mystery Solver. The Researcher and Collector's Assemble are really rather easy to accomplish, as long as you're following my tips about researching every 1 to 2 hours, and collecting enough artifacts per excavation site to contribute to the necessary collections. At the end of the video, I'm going to be discussing a very quick and easy method to accomplishing these two achievements if you're still missing some artifacts. This method will help you gain quick and easy chronotes as well as XP. If you want to skip ahead to that method now, please check the timestamp in the description below, labeled Last Few Achievements. Just a couple things to keep in mind while you are training. Some excavation sites will not have a materials deposit box available, or at least will not have one close by, making it time consuming to run back and forth. For that reason, I would strongly recommend investing in a Grace of the Elves necklace that can hold about 500 charges worth of Sign of the Porters. Now, Grace of the Elves is currently going for 60 mil as of April 17th, 2020. So if you find it very difficult to afford this, I would recommend instead investing in diamond necklaces and incandescent energies in order to craft your own Sign of the Porters. If your divination level is not 99, please see the description below for a link to the RuneScape wiki page showing you all the relevant Sign of the Porters for your level and the ingredients needed to make them. You'll find the link labeled under Signs of the Porter. Another thing I want to talk about are the material caches. I know in my last video I made a point about never using them because they were a waste of time and XP. Although I do have to admit that during my training from level 40 to 70, I have had to use the material cache a few times in order to supplement the restoration of some of my artifacts. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list the pros and cons of the material cache, and I'm going to leave it up to you to decide whether or not to use them, depending on your needs. First off, material caches are best used alongside the Grace of the Elves or Signs of the Porter. So if you're not using either of those items, that could be a major con. Another issue with the material cache is that it only gives you one type of material, whereas excavation sites can give you multiple kinds. Depending on how in demand a material is, the site can be depleted very quickly. You may have to world hop considerably in order to find one that's semi-abandoned to get the most out of the cache. And finally, it does not produce any artifacts, so you can't use these caches to help with the Discoverer achievement. As for the pros, some material caches will produce soil that you can very easily collect and sift through to collect other materials. The higher your archaeology level, the lower the chances are of obtaining soil as opposed to materials. For instance, this material cache requires level 5. Currently, I'm level 72. That means the chances of me obtaining soil are much lower than the chances of me obtaining a Zerosian insignia. With that said, every time you obtain a material from the cache, you will get the corresponding XP. Another pro, and the most obvious one, is you can obtain a lot of one material very quickly, which can be considerably useful if you plan on restoring multiple of the same artifacts, which would require anywhere from 50 to 150 of one material. That being said, make sure you're using your Signs of the Porter. The last pro for material cache is depending on which material you are excavating, it can be a really good way to make some cash, especially now while the skill is still very new. Although I do think most of these prices are going to be future-proof, as these materials will always be in demand, but not necessarily always be in supply, because they will always be getting used up in order to train the skill. So I think at least after the first month, the economy will stabilize, and these materials will be a steady source of cash. Also, don't forget to utilize your daily challenges, making sure to extend your archaeology tasks, and re-rolling on any other task once you complete your archaeology. Keep in mind though, right now Viswax is super expensive, but I think over time, once the economy stabilizes, this should be another thing to include in your training. All that's left now is to unlock your associate qualification. You should have essentially everything completed except for maybe the Discoverer and the Restorer. So I'm going to show you a quick little trick to help you finish off those achievements, as well as collect some more Chronotes and earn a little bit of XP. What we're going to be doing is pretty much contributing to the Zerosian 1 collection repeatedly. This collection is the fastest one to complete in terms of collecting artifacts, as well as probably the easiest. At level 70, you're going to be excavating these particular artifacts at a much faster rate, especially because the highest level among them is level 25. There are 4 excavation spots that you want to hit. This is the first, here will be the second, the third, and the fourth. I would recommend excavating at each of those 4 locations until you have at least 3 of each artifact that corresponds to that site. Kind of like so. This way, once you restore all of the artifacts, you will be able to contribute to the collection 3 times. To make things easier, be sure you have enough materials in your storage box to cover all 27 artifacts. The amounts for which can be seen on your screen now. However, keep in mind, these values are only pertaining to one contribution. So if you're planning on contributing this collection multiple times, you'll have to take that into consideration. Like me, for example, I'm planning on contributing this set 3 times. So I'm going to multiply all of these values here by 3 to figure out how many of each material I'm going to need. In this instance, I would recommend using the material cache excavation spots to help supplement your artifact restoration. Most of which are located at Caradet, such as here, here, and here. The only one that might be out of your way is the White Oak, located on Ice Mountain, but you can very easily get here by using the Edgeville Lodestone. So be sure to bring your Grace of the Elves or your Signs of the Porter and you'll be good to go. Once all the artifacts are restored, head on over to Volusia to contribute them. Now, as you can see, one contribution to this collection will reward you with 4.7k in Chronotes. I know you're looking at this saying, but it only says 2.6. Don't forget that each time you contribute an artifact, you gain the amount of Chronotes that it's worth as well. It's also worth noting that restoring all of the artifact pieces per collection will yield you approximately 4.2k in XP. And like I said before, this is the fastest collection that you can repeat. Even the highest level artifacts can be excavated every 2 to 3 minutes, depending on if you're staying with the time sprite or simply AFK. So I would suggest you keep doing this collection until you've accomplished all the achievements needed for the associate rank. And once you've met all the requirements, you come back here to the acting guildmaster to claim your qualification. They have this nice little cutscene, and that's that. Once you unlock your associate qualification, you will notice that you have now unlocked an extra slot for your research expeditions, as well as the ability to unlock 2 more assistants. Now both of these NPCs can be found in Anachronia, just right here next to the lodestone, and all you have to do is show them a completed totem. Doesn't matter which one, any totem will do. Once you've shown them the totem, talk to them once again. Once you come back to the research table, you will find that they have now been unlocked. Make sure whenever you are setting up your research expeditions to prioritize them, as they have the highest modifiers amongst your team. Keep in mind though, the higher the cost modifier, the more expensive the research expedition will cost. So if you don't care too much about the speed modifier to reduce the duration of the expedition, I would recommend going with the last 3 interns to make your cost modifier at 0%, keeping the research expeditions as cheap as possible. And finally, with your associate rank, you will have unlocked some new rewards in Ezreal's workshop. Now this is entirely up to you how you want to spend your chronotes. I mean, if you have 173k chronotes, you could just buy them all instantly. But if you want it to be conservative, I would highly recommend prioritizing the outfit, as the full set will give you a bonus of 5% XP when training your Archaeology. If you have some extra chronotes to spare, I would highly recommend either purchasing the Madoc Precision upgrade or the Soil Box upgrade, depending on what suits your needs. Most people would tend to go for the Madoc Precision as soon as possible because it will assist with excavating artifacts much faster. Precision is what you need in order to fill up the blue status bar faster. I'm much more of a soil guy myself, so I'm going to be purchasing the upgrade. You may also consider purchasing the auto screener. This will allow you to manufacture the soil auto screener using your invention skill. The auto screener is a very handy tool. It's essentially the bone crusher for soil. It will automatically screen soil as you collect it. Every time it screens soil, it will drain 3.3 energies from your charge pack. It's kind of like saying 900 soil for 1 charge pack. Having this thing in your inventory really saves you the trouble of having to come back to the Archaeology Guild. However, keep in mind, you will not gain experience every time the auto screener sifts through your soil. Furthermore, the materials you may receive are only the materials relevant to the excavation spot that you are at, whereas the soil you collect in your soil box can yield any material that belongs to that area that you have the levels to collect. Signs of the Porter will work to automatically bank any materials received from the auto screener. So there's pros and cons to each. I leave it up to you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope this video kind of helped you to some degree. If you enjoyed the video, I would ask once again, please consider subscribing to my channel, as it'll really help me towards reaching my goal of 1,000 subscribers. As I mentioned before, reaching 1,000 would allow me to get monetized by YouTube and ultimately get me the funding I need to produce more videos and more content in a timely fashion. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave a comment below, and be sure to stay tuned for the next video, which will focus on level 70 to 90 and achieving the Professor qualification. Thanks again, guys. See you next time.
Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa.